All right, I do have 6 o'clock. We'll call our regular monthly meeting of Budget and Finance Committee together, June 16th. You have agendas on your desk or in your packet there. They were also emailed to us with a couple of changes today. By that, I mean additional budget amendments. Any questions for tonight's agenda? Anyone have any desire to change or edit the agenda in any way? Make a motion to approve the agenda as it is. Do I hear a second? Got a second, Commissioner Chris Gregory. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Agenda for tonight is before you. Review your minutes of the May 19th meeting. We've met a few times in some budget hearings since then.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes as written. Any discussion further? Got a second by Commissioner Ford. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is approved. Continuing on, you have your trustees' cash balance. You're looking at page 4. Any line items of interest or concern? If no discussion on the trustees' cash balance, let's move forward. Page 5 has your comparisons. 1 year to the next, 24 to 25 in terms of revenues and expenses. A reminder, I believe one of those revenues in 111 where it looks so far off from 66.2% to 31.2 has to do with a 1 point something $million at the Ward School. Is that where that grants? $2 million, I'm sorry. $2 million on the Ward School, I believe is in that 111. That's where that other percentage is at, why it looks so low. Any questions on page 5? If not, moving into general fund 101, looking at the revenue side. Revenues at this time, we're in the 11th month, should be coming at 91.7%. We would see that revenues on estimate are at 99.4% when we leave out grant items that are somewhat holding back through there. So revenues have come in strong with 1 month left. Reminder in revenue, sales tax comes in a little over a month, right at 2 months late. So they run 2 months behind. Any line items of discussion in the one-on-one revenues? If no questions there, moving to expenditures. One-on-one expenditures, we are setting again at 91.7% of for the 11th month, and expenditures are at 76.4%. So revenues coming in at 99.4 and expenditures at this time at 76.4. That will jump a little. We've got some budget amendments. Any lines of discussion? Your next page on expenditures, page 10 and 11, breakdown of the sheriff's department out of the 101. If no discussion there, moving to the 111 expenditures. Again, we're 91.7% for the 11th month. Expenditures coming in at 97.6. As I said, that grant, the two grants actually in there that are quite a bit of your coverage, Ward School and multimodal. That's 2.7 million, nearly 2.679 million. So that's a large portion of a $4 million budget. Without the grants coming in at 97.6% and expenditures at 71.4. Your next breakdown, our next two pages, I believe, your next page only has a breakdown of the sheriff's department out of 111. Any discussion out in any of those? If not, moving to 116. Solid waste. Coming in revenues at 103%. Reminder, when you hear over 100%, we budget at 92 for revenues and expenses at 100%. Expenditures at 63.1%. No discussion there. Ambulance is your 118. I'm on page 15. If I'm going too fast, slow me down. 118 is coming in at 99.5%. On revenue side, and expenditures, which are broke down on the next two pages, are at 81.5%. Any discussion here? If not, moving forward, 121. 121, I guess I have a habit of saying, hey, this is pass-through money, and don't really explain what I mean by that. I've noticed that on our, if you look up Trousdale County's revenues online, you'll find a breakdown, and it'll say that Trousdale County has a little over $100 million in revenue. Well, this 121 right here has 71 million of that, which is core civic money that comes from the state to the county, never gets touched by the county and goes to core civic. Just making sure everyone understands that there is a difference in that money. That 71 million is not Trousdale County's money. It was brought to my attention, and I understand the public's, when I looked at what they were looking at, I well understand where you could think there's this amount of money because all you see is numbers online. What that 121 is when we call it and go through it fast, pass-through money, we understand it's not money that touches our hands. It is core civic dollars. Hopefully that was somewhat clear in what happens. Maybe you can pass that word along and understand that that 70+ million is not Trousdale County's dollars. I think it cost us a little, but not that money. This core civic itself. 122 county drug. This is another one of those, if you look at it, it's coming in revenues at 39.7%. Expenditures are at 0.1%. On this one here, we always know that it's an unknown. It's drug seizures, forfeiture sales. I think the sheriff mentioned last month that he was in need of a forfeiture sale soon. There's a lot of items piling up, just hasn't got that taken care of yet. Not that he just hadn't been able to get to it. I don't want to say that he hadn't taken care of it. He said just hadn't been able to get to it yet. Moving on, 127 and 128, those are your ARPA funds. Remaining, not fund balances, but expenses for this year. I noticed the health department looks to be well underway. Any questions, 127, 128? If not, 151 debt service. Fortunately, our county is in a pretty good place in debt. Also see some breakdowns there on your fixed interest rates. Those were some questions from the last meeting. Any questions or concerns in 151? Well, everybody's really quiet tonight. Moving on, 171. 171 is our capital outlay, capital projects fund. The only expenses out of it this year, I believe, were were the purchase of the property here across from the current jail, is where those expenses were out of it this year. Fortunately, there's some money sitting there for certain things from time to time that we don't have to go borrow for. Oh, I did not catch that. I'm glad you said that. Adequate facilities, the impact fee, you see your first payment into 171 of $10,500. That will be something to watch. That is a new, I guess we would say, piece of revenue. Ready to move forward? 131 highway fund. As we've stated, the highway has a pretty large budget. We've gone through it. They've got a $3 million budget, but we only contribute, we by that I mean the county contributes a little over 100,000. That's the words maintenance of effort come to mind. Moving on, 141 general schools. we do have some 141 budget amendments tonight as well. But 141 general schools, reminder, we look at the revenue side only of 141. School board takes care of the expenditure side. Any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the trustees' cash balance and the financial summaries for this June 16th meeting. Commissioner Gregory with that, Bubba Gregory, and Commissioner Chris Gregory with a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion as stated, let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is favorable. All right, we have a couple of, let's see. If I'm looking at these, I'm not missing anything. One's a grant, one's. Did I miss anything? These could be taken together. What I thought, and the two additions, if you'll look on there was another page laying on your desk today. The ones you received an email earlier this morning, they're both, but I believe, TISA Act, which is both of these are 141, and a TISA Special Education Fund. Believe all of these could be considered together. Or we can break them apart if you wish. Is there any one in particular you would like to look at? I will go through them. 101. Give me a second. Back to the right place. 101 here in this case, you have a couple cleanup pieces. Communication equipment is a debt here in this case, debit out of and going into mayor's health insurance, planning overtime, sheriff clerical, SRO overtime, litter grant, vehicle maintenance and repair, and the senior center director's place there of $200. So that's where that breakdown of that $9,854 is. Moving forward, Enbridge grant, $11,800 to the fire department. I believe it'd always be wise to take in that money. It does not state that the fire department has any plan for it at this time. 11105, clean up again, waste pickup truck drivers is the debit going into waste pickup director. It's a $750 cleanup. 11602, clean up again. 116 is solid waste. You got $5,275 coming out of the convenience center overtime. Always nice to see money be able to left over in overtime. Going into laborers and attendants at the convenience center. 118 ambulance is 11802. $7,000 coming out of medical services, part-time personnel, and going into medical personnel. 13103, highway. You see there, the debits are listed in multiple places. And going into highway and bridge, small tools, operations, plant maintenance, operation and plant maintenance, other charges, which is liability claim, trustees commission, and capital outlay. For a total of $25,568. Questions or concerns? 151, debt service again. Coming out of other debt services, $2,000 going to a principal on loan. This is the JSMS roof note, if I believe that's correct. Paying the principal, this is directly to principal, it states. Was at 101, should have been at 103. Clean it up. Credit recovery, 141. Restricted education, extended contracts going into regular education instruction program. That's a total of $2,877. I believe that's broke down for you on the back page 34 here, if you want to dig into that. Then we have two more. They're on the page that was laying on your desk today. Both of these, as I explained a minute ago. One is the TISA Act. TISA on behalf of payments, it's a debit of 17,000. Going credited to the regular instruction program. It's for student ACT payments. Any questions? If not, again, coming out of the TISA formula fund of $10,375, special education on behalf of a special education, going into the special education program line item of the schools, it's $10,375. Any questions, concerns? Y'all are awfully quiet tonight. If not, I will entertain a motion to approve all, or pull one out if you wish. Mr. Ford, motion to approve all. Mr. Dennis has a second. Any discussion? If I'm moving too fast, let me know. If not, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is favorable. All right. Discussion items. There's that FY 26 budget again on the discussion items. I believe we are close in meetings, and I do appreciate the time that was put forth to get through these pieces. It's certainly not a small task. But as we look through this piece before us, are there any items that anyone wishes to bring to the budget before we move any further? What was approved last week, last Tuesday night, I believe, was a $3,000 to all employee increase. That's what has a motion and is being sent forth favorably. That would come at a tax levy increase of it'll be moving to $2.07. I believe that's a 8.23% increase. Not percent, but cent. Anyone with anything they'd like to bring to the table? You were sent an email today. I do hope everyone got a chance to read through that a little bit. I found it kind of interesting. As I stated, what was approved was for everyone to receive a $3,000 increase in pay. I found it interesting when we were handed some numbers for some comparisons with our EMS. And in comparing an EMT and AMT, an advanced EMT, paramedic, and a paramedic critical care, each having a different element of licensure. I thought it was quite interesting when Smith and Sumner County were used here as comparisons. What really came as interesting to me is we seem to be above, considerably above, most each one of them. That I found quite interesting. We've heard our sheriff speaking, that he's losing guys because our pay is not competitive to others. Um, it would appear our EMT pay is quite competitive, or our paramedic, I should say our EMS pay, is quite competitive. Just to note, we're already above in comparing to Smith and Sumner, and we'd be presenting to the committee, full commission, a $3,000 increase to all. That's great. This is current. We are gonna need a motion shortly to, move the tax, to appropriate the tax levy as the resolution reads, which is the back page of your, page 35, and 36 of your, packet tonight. Ms. Atwood?
By looking at this, just my feelings, I think some of these positions need to be salary positions, and I don't feel that they need an increase because they're already getting an excess amount, especially in overtime. That's my thoughts and my opinion.
I think salary is certainly an interesting view on that. I'd have to, I believe, know some, a little bit more understanding of how salary can work there before we might could move that far. I don't know legalities. I think there's a $52,000 to $55,000 number that comes to my mind, that you have to be above that if you're gonna be at salary, or if you're below, you have to pay the overtime up to that number. I can't remember exactly what that number is, but it's somewhere between 52 and 55,000, I think, currently. I can't tell you exactly what that number is. I'd like to be a little closer than that. But there is a number, which it wouldn't appear to matter here if, all these numbers are gonna be above. The only one that's below that number is a new hire, if I understand that correctly. That's why the paramedics coming in are a recent hire. That's why they're coming in at 51,888. They're not yet at that, haven't been with us long enough to be above that number. But they would be somewhere close to that 100 grand, it looks like, for a paramedic.
I mean, I'm not saying that we have to convert these to salary at this current time. I'm just saying that's something I think we need to look into to see if that is an option. But at this point, by the regular pay and the overtime pay, I mean, they're making way excessive more than what our nearby counties are.
That is certainly very, evident. For example, an EMT, in Smith County makes 46,000 on EMT, and they are held at a maximum overtime of 754 hours. Maximum Smith County. Sumner County, comes in at 60,000. If I looked at this correctly, our EMTs are coming in, basic EMTs are coming in at over 66,000. 20,000 above Smith County and, 6,000 above Sumner County's numbers. Continuing on before I, see you there on that one, an advanced EMT, a little bit higher, degree there, or certification technically, 51,000 at Smith, 65 at Sumner, so $5,000 difference from an EMT to an advanced EMT. And that's a reason to go get that advanced EMT, to step up $5,000. Ours are coming in over 66,000 as well there. Actually, in the, depending on overtime hours, above 66, even some above 70. Paramedic, which is where Sumner stops at. They stop at paramedic. Paramedic, coming in at 64,000 in Smith, 77,000 in, Sumner. Whereas here, if I read it correctly, I think our paramedics, the least paid paramedic came in at over 90. Commissioner Gregory.
Just had one question on the Smith and Summer numbers. These say, base rate, base annual. Do those base numbers include their overtime as well?
From what I was presented to us, I believe that is correct. I'm not sure that the Sumner County numbers are not, I don't know if Sumner County's on a salary or not on that case. I believe all of those could be salary because they're above that 52 to 55, whatever that cutoff number is. I noticed that Sumner County has a holiday pay of 8 hours. Thought that was interesting. I did like the max overtime conversation as well. Hours are figured at 90 with the holiday pay and overtime scheduled. Hours are figured at 96 hours per month, if you want to call it a month, but we pay on 26 pay periods or pay cycles, so it's technically times 13. That's 1,100 and something overtime hours, just so you know. Those are numbers to put in before you. I think it does raise the conversation of, are we paying at a good rate in EMS? And does the need still be arise for a $3,000 increase to all? That is what a motion has been approved thus far to put forth. All right. Sounds like there's Ms. Oden.
I would like to amend the budget. Make a motion to amend the proposed raises.
Make a motion to amend the proposed raises.
Is that what I'm supposed to say?
Um,
Because I want to change the way that I don't want it to go with everybody getting a $3,000 raise.
so you want to amend what we have proposed thus far and reopen discussion? Would
Yes.
that be? Let's make sure we get this clear.
Absolutely. Mhm. Mhm.
Mr. Ford made that motion. It would go back to him to see if he is willing to, open that and amend his motion to rediscuss the $3,000 to all. That was a motion originally made. You made that a motion. I seconded you on that last week. Are you open to amending that discussion and open it back up for discussion? Um, we would have to have that discussion first before we could open that back that way.
Could we just make a motion to reconsider then? With that,
I was about to say, it's gotta go back to him. And the way I understand it, that's the way I thought it too. It's up to you. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dennis, I saw your,
yes, sir. Just something to add to the conversation right here. And forgive me if I misunderstand. But Sumner County's holiday pay is 8 hours
that's correct.
flat, and they have state holidays as well.
I've checked into that further.
If they have state holidays like Trousdale County recognizes, that's 14 days. We're paying the employee's typical workday as their holiday pay. EMS's typical workday is 24 hours. That is what we're paying holiday pay per employee for EMS. if you take and do the math backwards, subtract 8 hours from 24, that's 16 hours of overtime per day, per holiday that EMS is getting. That's 224 hours, apples to apples. 224 hours extra overtime pay to the EMS. On the lowest dollar figure right here that I find on this sheet at $20.07, $20.07 an hour at 224 hours of extra time. That is a benefit for our county employees. That's $4,495.68 that we pay that employee that they would not get in Sumner County.
That's a very interesting point you bring to the table, Mr. Dennis. $4,000 plus there on the table for a day worked is the way I think it works. When you speak of that, you would be speaking of 12-hour employees and 24-hour employees. I believe those are the only ones on our clock.
I just know that EMS is different, that it's typical work days is how that reads right now.
I think it also falls into our sheriff on 12-hour days, their typical workday. That's the only two places that I know that one falls. But you are correct. Yes, it's typical workday.
And Mr. Chairman, I do believe that is a benefit for our employees,
100% a benefit for our employees. Well
but we
said.
don't need to miss the benefit that they have.
You see numbers before you, Mr. Ford. I'll ask you one more time. Are you willing to reconsider your motion and open back up the $3,000 annual to all? I will withdraw my second as well, and we can open that discussion back up.
I would like to propose 10% raise for the sheriff, $1.50 for all other employees except EMS. I believe with the numbers presented, EMS is already fairly compensated and they will not get a raise this year.
Could I interest you in this thought before you go there? Thinking you might go there, we might have some numbers that show a no EMS, $1.50 all, and a $2 to the sheriff, which benefits most of the sheriff's department better than the other. And I think from talking to sheriff's employees, they were all okay with it. And I have talked to multiple on this. Would you consider, and that was very close to what I put out last week, would you consider not doing a percent? The reason I say that is on a percent, your employees that are above, say $2, say $20 an hour, receive a lot more than those that are below. I keep hearing that our starting salaries are what are hampering us the most. I think we could hopefully get our starting salaries in that case up a little more as well. And I think the $2 feels really good to everybody.
If the $2 is what will pass this committee, fine. I would prefer 10%.
I appreciate that piece. I think
So I'm going to make my motion for 10%. And if somebody wants to change that, amend it, then I would be amenable.
I would like to second that motion, because after the ones that I have talked with, they are not happy with the $2 and they still want the 10%. So I will second Ms. Overman's.
so. With the 10% would come the sheriff giving up two positions. Two more. Two have already been given, two more. When you talk to those sheriff's employees, that are those deputies and things, did you mention that there was two more positions on the line for that 10%? Because I think that was a piece that was,
I would just, that's what the sheriff gave, that's the deal the sheriff presented. I'm taking his deal. He said he'd give up 4 positions if we gave him a 10% raise. Okay, here's a 10% raise. Give me your 4 positions. That's where I'm at.
The ones that I have talked with, Mr. Gully, they have been aware of that and they are willing to let those go. As long as they don't lose any more by not getting the pay raise that is there. And just for a note, they are protecting our county. They are protecting all of us.
Will agreed
And-
on that. Commissioner Gregory,
Just to clarify, Sheriff Russell, so we all remember, those 4 positions are currently vacant, is that correct?
Well, 2 of them, we added in accidentally, took them out. Then I offered 2 more positions for the 10%. They're vacant right now. I've got 3 vacant slots right now.
but they have been filled throughout the year
Have they been filled? Not right now.
at other times through this year?
Possibly, I'm trying to find some people to hire. I'm having a hard time finding people too.
But you're not gonna hire anybody if we give you a 10% raise.
I'm waiting
right?
right now to see what happens here.
Okay,
When the budget passes on the final reading, that's when I'll,
We do have a motion and second on the floor for, if I would ask you to restate it, I believe it was for, I'm gonna ask you to restate it.
10% for the sheriff's department, 0 for EMS, $1.50 for everybody else.
Commissioner Gregory? That is a motion and second.
Can we get a ballpark estimate? I know exactly right, of what, I said, what we had originally, came with what, 8.23 cent tax like to pay for it. Can we get in a ballpark figure of what that number would look like if Ms. Overman's motion is passed?
They won't work. That's no problem. Give me a second. I think we can get close. 7. Yes, we can. That's what I was doing. Yep. You're taking about 100,000 out is about what that's coming out. So, somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 cents to cover. 10.71. And I hear the motion on the table. I just want to be clear, you know, I appreciate those that have been with us a long time, and I think they're wanting people to be with them, and I hope y'all have talked to multiple officers. We're giving a few officers, about 6 officers, based on what I've seen in numbers, more than a $5,000 raise, between a $500 and $7,500 raise, and a large portion of them less than 3,000 in raise, just to make sure we're clear on that, going this route. That's one reason I really like dollar figures. They've, in this case, in an environment where we're trying to equal up to some other counties around us and get close in pay, dollars really do us better on that end than a percent.
I want to ask Ms. Overman, would we consider maybe maybe limiting the to a particular dollar amount for the higher paid ones, you know, the 10% for the lower paid, and maybe we cap it at 4,000 if you for and I'm coming up just making that number, whatever we decide for higher paid. Would we consider a, you know, capping an increase at whatever amount?
I'd just like to call the vote.
Sounds like that's a no.
Myself personally, I think it'd be fair to everybody. If the guys that been here a long time, and stayed here and worked here all these years, they deserve something. The way I feel about it.
We won't disagree with that. I think that's where longevity comes in later on in longevity pay, which is something to look at going forward there. But at these paces, when you're trying to catch up, is what I hear. We're trying to catch up with places near us.
Yeah.
I believe it's better to look at a dollar figure number. But we have been asked for the vote. All those in favor of the motion that was stated to raise, this is for EMS at no increase, all employees at $1.50, other than Sheriff's Department, which would be at 10% increase. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Opposed? No. I believe no's have it. All right. We're back on the table. I would like to propose that we look at another option then. I don't use, Mr. Greg,
I'll make the motion that we do the $2 an hour, for the sheriff, like you brought up.
I put one on the table last week, which I would be willing to bring back. I did have Miss Amy run these numbers for us. $1.50 for all employees other than EMS, and a $2 increase for all sheriff. And this lets the sheriff keep those 2 positions that are there in this piece. If you want to go more than $2, that's fine. I'm fine with $2.50. I don't have a problem there. If we're fine with that number, we just had to work up some numbers. Looking at the crowd, does $2.50 feel better than $2? I don't know. We are behind. We know that much. I like the dollar figures myself in this one. We can do percents when we're keeping everything moving. I'd make the motion then, we put it at $1.50 for all employees other than EMS, $2 for sheriff. The reason we're leaving EMS out is we've got some numbers that say that our comparison numbers is we're well above communities near us. And our EMS is at a good number is what it's saying. So we're not saying we're leaving them out on purpose. We're just saying we're leaving them out because we've already put them at a good pay is what that's saying. Comparable to counties around us. Motion, I will make the motion. I don't usually do this from a chair, of $1.50 for all employees other than EMS, and $2 for Sheriff's Department. I have a second by Commissioner Gregory. We do. Very similar. But we 10.45 cents. It's distributing the money a little different. That's all it's really doing. And we would have to redo our ordinance for the pennies. Yes, sir. That'd put us at a little, around 209 instead of 210. There is a motion on the table. Do I hear any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion as stated, let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is favorable, if I counted that correctly, at 5-2. Is everybody, am I right? Well, an abstain's a no, a yes is a yay. So you're a no. That's what an abstain is. It's a no. Mr. Beller, am I correct on that? It is a no. So I see that 4-3. Pretty tight. All right, that would mean that we need to amend the motion for the tax rate from last week as well. I believe that needs to be about 10.45 cents. We had made a motion for 8.23 cents. That's, what is that final figure? It'd be 2.22. I've got 2.0922. Is that what you get? I believe that is 2.0922. Will you hang on just a second? I want to make sure I'm close and didn't miss any math. Sometimes. Is that what you got? You're good. I really believe it is 20922. We would set it at 8.23 the other night, put us at 209 even, or 207 even. 8.23, 10.45 is the difference of 2.22 cents. Add 2.22 cents to that, and that gives me the 20922. I think we had a motion the other night to do this. I think you made that motion and I made the second on that as well. So you're good with rescinding that motion and restating it? Okay, Mr. Ford, you want to restate your motion then? 209 flat. Did everyone hear that motion? I would second that motion again. That is for the county. The urban service has not been changed. County general. Everyone clear where we are? With that stated, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? 2 noes. Did I hear that correctly? 3 noes. So we are 4-3 on that one as well. Interesting tonight. It does pass favorably to head to the budget, onto the commission. Let's see here, where we at in discussion items. Any other discussion items? Any other discussion items anybody needs to bring to the table? If not, any public comment? All right, at this point, I'll take that motion to adjourn. Take a 5-minute break and start the next one. Have a motion by Commissioner Gregory, second by Commissioner Gregory, that'd be Bubba Gregory, then Chris Gregory, and we are adjourned.